Welcome back. The time is 13 minutes before the top of the hour, and you're still tuned in to Salam Media. And we are glad that you're still staying with us. And right now, in a bit, we'll be focusing on India, where once again they're in the spotlight for the alarming levels of gender-based violence. This comes after the brutal rape and murder of a young doctor in Kolkata. And in response, the West Bengal government has introduced the Aparajita Woman and Child Law Amendment Bill, which includes the death penalty for certain cases of rape. While this legislation aims to address the horrific crime, many are questioning whether it truly addresses the root causes of violence against women in India. And today we focus on the safety of women in India and the ongoing issue of gender-based violence, and what more needs to be done to protect women, and whether or not is the death penalty really the solution. And to delve into these critical questions, I'm joined by Shahzeen Khan, senior editor at the Observer Post India. Shahzeen, thank you so much for joining us to shed light on this very, very pressing and important issue. Welcome to Salam Media.
Hey, Slalo. First, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I'm really glad to be here to speak on this issue.
I think,
All right.
first and foremost, I would like our point of departure to be just generally as a female yourself, someone that stays, lives in India, was born in India.
Yeah.
The state of the safety of women in India. I think for the rest of the world, we've seen numerous cases of some very, very gruesome incidences of violence perpetuated against women in India, and it almost feels like women in India are not safe. It feels like gender-based violence is part and parcel of the DNA of India, and is perpetuated mostly against women. Are women safe in India? I think that's the easiest way to put it.
Yes, I understand your question, and I would like to address this in a broader way and stating my own experience living in India as an Indian woman. So I would say, am I audible, Salala?
Yes. I can hear
Yeah,
loud and clear.
sure. Okay. So I would say that as a woman, we are living in a very confusing time in India, where in one hand, women are being constantly encouraged to believe that the opportunities for women are boundless in India and that the women, they can achieve anything they set their mind to. And we are indeed seeing some great examples in India coming, like women joining businesses and even in the leadership, and so many women joining politics, and more and more women taking up higher education. We are seeing a good picture also in India here, that the gross enrollment ratio in higher education in India, it is increasing, and women are taking up challenging jobs. Women are joining the workforce. That is just one side of the story in India we are seeing at the global stage. But here in reality, we see that portion, that fraction is small in terms of the total population of women in India, which is 65 crores. And on top of that, the women that we see as successful examples in India, the Indian government portray them as the change makers. But that section of women is just really small, and that is just, if we see deeper, it is just a homogeneous group, which is mostly the women from the upper class majority community in India. But women from other communities, such as Muslims, Dalits, these underrepresented communities in India, we see they still face a lot of barriers, which I think the current ruling government needs to address in terms of inclusivity and equitable distribution of opportunities that is served equally to women in India. And the current ruling government, which is in power since last 10 years, they have launched numerous schemes from women empowerment, but all these initiatives seem very small, and they don't just result in a very great outcome on ground. Yeah. But what we see in news, in the global news, that women are getting affected by various forms of violence, and almost every day. we are getting news which is disrupting the Indian society, and the violence is increasing at an alarming rate, which is shattering the fabric of Indian society.
mm,
uh,
mm,
Women are being subjected to unspeakable horrors. And let's take the recent example that you quoted here, the horrific rape and murder of a resident doctor in an Indian state, Kolkata, right? Where a female doctor was brutally murdered and like raped at the hospital, inside the hospital premises, which is supposed to be a safe place for women. Uh, and if you see at the crime record data of India in the Home Ministry, that a woman in India is kidnapped like every 44 minutes, and a woman is raped at every 47 minutes, and there are like 17 deaths every day because of dowry, which is a very regressive tradition in India, where for
mm,
marriage women have to pay a price to the groom's family. This is a really regressive tradition that is still persists in India till date.
mm,
So the violence against women which is occurring, we see it like both inside and outside the home. Women are not safe, even outside and also the inside in the family. Women may face suffer from like dowry related harassment from the family members, and marital rape in the cases of physical violence and sexual harassment cases at
mm,
times. And this list goes on with like kidnapping, rape, and murder. They are being a constant threat for women in India. And
mm,
talking about the cases of sexual harassment, there's been a really a prime case which has been in news for about a year, I guess. The Olympic, the sport, India's athletes, women athletes, uh, like in the sports of in the sports of wrestling. So they were subjected to sexual harassment by their own authorities and the coaches, and then they had to protest for about a year to get their case registered, to get themselves heard from the authorities. And they had to protest on road to register their protest against the sexual violence, and still the Indian authorities did not listen to them. And there was no justice was served to those women, the very women who are representing India at the Olympics, and
mm.
they're facing sexual harassment cases inside the country, and their own government is not listening to them. So this is a really dark picture, I would say.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, the
Shazin,
and the yeah, please go ahead.
yes, yes. You're painting quite a bleak picture. But I'm just trying to understand what are some of the key drivers, of this violence against women in India. India is the biggest democracy in the world. You've quoted examples of, some of the most successful women, whether in business and in politics and in
And
science and medicine, being Indian women. But what are some of the key drivers, that are perpetuating this ugly treatment of women, where it's so violent and is so brutal against Indian women by Indian men? If you can just, unpack a bit on that, the key drivers of this violence against women in India.
I would say these are the double standards of the society that allow these crimes to persist. Where in one hand they portray, I mean, they promote all these schemes for women empowerment, but in reality, what we see it is just different from their intended motives. And these are the double standards of societies as well as the government. So what we need to do, I think, yeah, the all the schemes and the government laws that they make, it is really commendable and appreciating. But what makes a difference how those laws are implemented in the real life, in
Mm,
India, in the women's life. Yeah. So
mm,
we do not see that happening. We have so many laws. There was a gang rape in 2016 in India, and post that there was so much conversation around it, and so many laws were made. But still, like 8 years later, we are again seeing a brutal gang rape and murder, and so this should not happen. Like if the government is making laws, they must make sure they are implementing it in a correct way, and that the women are feeling safe the crimes of rape and sexual harassments at workplaces, at home, these are really troubling cases. So we must hold society as well accountable for these double standards that are allowing these crimes to persist, while we should promote schemes for promoting the women in workforces. But we should understand that women's safety and dignity is something that is non-negotiable. Before we are celebrating the capabilities of women, we must first ensure that women are feeling safe, they're feeling respected and heard. So that is my request from the Indian government that I would want to propose. While they make big slogans of these gender equality, and they work on that, so, and they enroll women in higher education and all these things. So before that, there must be laws that really ensure that women are safe at home and at the workplaces.
And
That is it.
speaking of
Yeah.
and speaking of government, I want to touch a bit on the Aparajit Women and Child Bill, which obviously includes the death penalty for certain cases of rape. Do you think this legislation is, a starting point of the government trying to be more stern when it comes to addressing the issue of gender-based violence and sexual offenses against women in India? Do you think it's going to work? Is it what is needed, or there needs to be a deeper look into the psyche of India and its men, starting from when they're small in primary school, teaching them about gender-based violence, and what they can and cannot do, and respecting their female counterparts? Is this the right solution, or are you just putting a band-aid on a bullet wound?
I would say this is the need of the hour. A death penalty is the need of the hour. The laws should be stern, and there should be a prompt action, so that the perpetrators, or the person committing the crime, they are at least apprehensive of the laws and the outcomes of what they are committing. So a stricter punishment is definitely the need of the hour. And besides that, we also need to teach this sensitivity to our to at the primary level, at the schools, and we need to inculcate the moral precepts in at a very young age among the men and as well the women. There should be a proper counseling and awareness to the women and as well to the men, how we are ensuring that, as along with the all the stern laws and the policies the government is making. So the laws, this death penalty law was recently enacted, like a week back, and also the perpetrator has been arrested in that doctor rape and murder case, which is a really commendable step from the Indian government side. But we have to see how is it rolling out on the floor exactly.
All right, Shahzeen Khan. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but we're going to leave it here for now. I really appreciate you giving us your time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity equally. Yeah, have a good time.
That was Shahzeen Khan, senior editor at the Observer Post, coming to us live out from Delhi. And I think, really, really interesting to see how this new amended bill, which is essentially a death penalty against counts of sexual violence and rape against women, trying to counteract, the high rates of sexual offenses. I think I read somewhere that a total of almost 4,000 and 45 cases of crime against women were registered across in India in 2022, marking a 4% increase from the previous year. So yeah, I think death penalty is something that South Africans have been calling for right here at home. For cases of gender-based violence and sexual offenses, particularly the rape of women. Do you think this is something that could work not just in India, but if implemented here in South Africa? You can give us a shout. Our studio line 011-680-0355. WhatsApp line is 061-766-0355. 5. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be shifting our focus to, well, right here at home, South Africa, where extortionists and racketeering cases have, increased. They've again making the headlines. You have people coming to communities saying, you run a small business, it's a puzzle shop, small supermarket, it's a hair salon, it's a car wash. You have to pay us a certain amount of money for us to protect you, or else. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to organized crime expert Chad Thomas about the issues of extortion and literally people trying to turn South Africa into a mafia state. More on that after this short break.